Hello, everyone. Welcome to Family Equality's Queer Family Roundtable. My name is Stacy Stevenson. I'm the CEO at Family Equality. And alongside my wife, Sherilyn, I am the proud LGBTQ plus parent of my twin boys, 7-year-old twin boys, Duke and London. And so I'm really excited to be joined today by a number of amazing LGBTQ plus families to talk about our journeys to finding and forming our families and the joys and challenges that come with parenthood. First, let's talk to Dan Bucatinsky. Dan is an Emmy award-winning actor, writer, and producer, known for his role in Scandal. He's also an author of the book, Does This Baby Make Me Look Straight? Confessions of a Gay Dad. Next, we have Sabrina Jalees. Sabrina is a stand-up comedian, writer, and actor known for her role in CBS's Carol's Second Act, her quarter-hour Netflix special, and Amazon's Transparent. Behind the camera, Sabrina has written and produced on HBO's Max's Search Party and Netflix's Human Resources, Big Mouth, and more. Next, Max Mutchnick is an Emmy award-winning television producer known for creating Will and Grace and Boston Common. Mario and Monte Foreman-Powell. Mario and Monte are a military couple in Nebraska who recently rose to stardom when they were featured on The Ellen Show, where they shared their plans to grow their family via surrogacy. And last but not least, Justine Gonzalez. Justine is an LGBTQ plus and public education advocate based in Los Angeles. She has served as the president of the City of Los Angeles Human Relations Commission, and her work ranges from providing legal services to survivors of hate violence and discrimination to securing funding for supportive services dedicated to homeless transgender youth. So everyone, thank you for being with us here today. And I am so glad you're here. And I think we're going to have an excellent discussion today. And so I wanted to kick things off with a question that we at Family Equality often ask our guests, and that is, who is in your family and how was it formed? So you want to kick us off with that question, Dan?
Sure. Who is in my family? Well, my husband, Don, first and foremost, we were together for 12 years before even thinking about growing our family. And then through adoption, we were able to grow our family with Eliza, my daughter, who's now 16, from birth, and then 2.5 years later with our son, Jonah. So our family our immediate family are just me, Don, and the 2 kids. But of course, you grow up gay and you create a wider family. So of course there's that, and I won't rattle off those people.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. How about you, Sabrina?
I considered myself one of Dan's family, so it's hard to not be rattled off. But my nuclear, I guess, is it called nuclear when it's gay and incredible? My explosive family is my wife Shauna, who I met about 12, 13 years ago, and we've been married for almost 10. And my little baby Wolfie, really cute little guy, who we made in this wild way where I took a surf lesson in Mexico, and my instructor was just gorgeous, same hair as mine, same color skin as mine, gorgeous face like mine. So I said, I'll take the full package, sir. Took another surf lesson, asked him for just a dollop of his jizz in the water, and the rest is history. And I guess that is really truly, we were just in Mexico hanging out with him and his wife. They had their first child together, Leilani. So that's Wolfie's new little baby sister. She's 2 months old. And we're trying to grow through IVF. I've just left. My wife took a P test after our 3rd transfer. So looking for those 2 stripes.
Absolutely. All right, Max, who's in your family and how was it formed?
Well, Sabrina, I just want to say I feel your pain or your excitement about the future. Yeah, I mean, yeah. IVF is just because that's how I will explain my family. I'm married to Eric Hyman for 15 years. We met and on our first date, I said, I wanted to have children, and he said that was not something that he was interested in. And I was so in love that I actually said, okay, I would maybe put a pin in that dream or just kind of let it go altogether, which is unbelievable. It spoke to how much I loved him and also the enormity of it, because it was really something that I wanted my whole life. But this was just in the first couple of months of our relationship, and he surprised me on my birthday in November 15 years ago and said, let's do this, let's be together, and let's make a family. And that was just an incredible thing, because it was me taking a risk on being with someone that I knew that I loved and I knew that I wanted to be with, and I was gonna, and it speaks to, you have to make sacrifices when you're in relationships that are when you're in the right one, someone wants the window open, someone wants the window closed. It's at nighttime, and we just, I thought I was making a compromise, and then he showed up at my apartment in New York and said, let's do this. And after trying almost for 2 years, we ended up having twins through gestational surrogacy. And we have twin daughters, Rose and Evan. And because Sabrina started this of talking about all of this, I will share that, it really was an incredible thing to do, to we put four in, and two came out, and one was his and one was mine, all fertilized by the same donor. And we have these twin daughters, so they are we all kind of look alike in some weird way, which is also interesting. And it actually took them about 10 years. They were 10 or 11 when they finally figured out the biology of their family. They had never thought of any of that. But anyway, so that's my explosive family. My husband Eric, and our twin daughters Will. I almost said Will and Grace, and our twin daughters Rose, Austin, and Evan Hart, and we are actually very close with our parents and spend a great deal of time with them, and that's pretty much our life.
Thank you, Max. Justine, what about your families and your family, and how was it formed?
So it's me, my 8-year-old daughter, Cecilia, and a pair of newly adopted kittens, Finn and Fritz. It's my first time being a pet parent. Cecilia has been asking me for years for a sibling. I am not ready right now to have another child, another human child. So really happy, with our small little family. And it was formed through me and a previous relationship with one of the best friends of my life. And don't know how to say this, biological child from birth. And it's been such an amazing journey, forming it, me changing with her, and transitioning and being all like this winding path of change. So just really excited to be here today and hear about all these other amazing families.
Thank you. And being a pet parent is difficult. So just from experience.
Yeah, I had to freak out yesterday where I had to call emergency call to the vet. I'm like, what am I doing? What did I get into?
Yeah, I totally get it. And then Mario and Monte, what about you? Who's in your family and how is it formed?
Hi. So I'm Mario. This is Monte. We're obviously your husbands almost for 9 years. Mm-hmm. And we have our two dogs, Leo and Coco. They're two
mini Yorkies.
Mm-hmm. So when you said pets, I was like, hey, so we.
Yeah. And our story is very similar to Max's story.
Because I was almost kind of in tears when you were saying it, because it's exactly the way ours went down as well.
So I've always wanted kids. I come from a huge family. I'm the youngest of 7, and then I'm the 7th of 11 on my dad's side. So I've always wanted kids, but I always thought that it would never be possible because I thought I was gonna have to live this pretend straight life and marry a woman and pretend to, be in love with women when I wasn't. So, and then when I realized that I finally came out as gay, I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I'll ever be able to have a family, because I didn't, with the religion that I grew up with, and, never always been taught it was wrong. So I thought I was gonna have to live this, single life without kids and, and a husband. And so we finally got married after, when at the time it wasn't legal. So we just got common law married in Colorado, and then finally was able to it was legal, but the military didn't accept it right away. So, so we've technically been married for almost 7 years, but legally, until once it became legal, we've been married for almost 5 years now. So, and we currently have our daughter on the way. Her name is Monte Foreman-Powell. So we're super excited about that. We also, we also did the gestational carrier surrogacy. Same thing like with you, Max. Again, Mario for a long time did not want kids at all.
I did not want kids at all. It sounds very selfish. In some ways, I still am. But I don't know. Just life kept going as it did for you guys, and our friends started having babies. You could say I got into baby fever, but not really. But I was like, man, Monte did bring out a point to me. He was like, hey, so when we get older, who takes care of us, and two, like, what do you leave behind? And I've been like munching on the words for a while, and then I was like, hey, let's do it.
Because everything has meaning now.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I know that everyone has their process, but for us, thankfully, Ellen DeGeneres, we just love her, and just the situation that took place. We actually went through the whole IUI, right?
We did at home IUI.
At home IUI, yeah, through Mosey Baby, and it happened on the first try.
Yeah.
And it was just a complete blessing. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So that's just been
Saved
awesome.
you a ton of money.
It did save us a bunch of money. Yeah, we were very, very grateful for that, because we were, when we went through this company called Mosey Baby, thankfully they sponsored us after seeing us on the Ellen show, because that saved a lot of money too, because it's very expensive, as most of us know. And so they were like, hey, no, we'll send you as many kits as you need. But it worked the very first time. We got super lucky. The way that the universe works. And first time she called us, it was unbelievable. I cried.
He was in Hawaii.
I was in Hawaii. Mario's. Yeah, so we're in two different places. We weren't expecting to get the results so soon, and we were also kind of in the back of our mind wasn't really expecting it to work the first time. So we're like, oh, okay, we don't want to get our hopes up that it's going to work the first time, because we know it's a really low percentage of people that it works the first time. And so we were like, okay, whatever, if we get it, we get it. If not, we'll try again. And so we went on about our lives, and I was all the way in Hawaii. He was here in Nebraska, and we got the phone call. She was like, hey, I want to FaceTime you all. I just can't wait till she was supposed to wait till we got back from vacation, but she's like, I can't hold it. I got to call you. Let me FaceTime you all. And so she FaceTimed us, and she showed us the stick, and it said, positive. She was like, I made sure I tested 3 different pregnancy tests, and they all said positive. He's like, okay, like, before we get too excited, let's make sure we do go to appointment, all this stuff. And so she went to an appointment when we got back, and she was like, no, you're actually pregnant. And so it was just super emotional for us. We've known our surrogate for almost 3 years now. And how we kind of met her is kind of like funny. So we would go to family dinners that they would have every Sunday. And we started talking about, like wanting to start to grow our family. And, we were just kind of afraid because it was very expensive, like we didn't want to go broke trying to raise a family and then don't have enough money to support our family. And so her cousin kept saying, well, Ariel can do it. She's super fertile. Like, she pops babies out. It was like a joke. And so every time we would go over there, they were like, yeah, Ariel's super fertile. Like, she can do it. She can do it. And then it turned from a joke to a reality. And one day she called us and she was like, hey, I want to do it. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you want to do what? And she was like, I want to be y'all surrogate. And like, I remember just like dropping the phone, like in disbelief. I ran upstairs. I told Mario, like, babe, Ariel says she wants to be our surrogate. He was like, okay, calm down. I know how excited you get. Let's just take it a minute. Let's work all this out. And so that's how we are where we are today.
She's due February 17th.
Yep.
So
Exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Definitely. So we've talked about your families, how they were formed. So why don't we go into some of the things that you like to do as a family? So what's one of your favorite things that you like to do as a family? I know we like to eat and try new things. And one of my boys is in the football, which I'm in trouble. Loves the Cowboys. We were talking about them earlier, and he wants to play tackle football. So that's a whole other thing because I just can't do that with him. But what are some of the things that y'all like to do as a family? Well, maybe we'll start with Sabrina.
We actually have been on a bit of like a traveling circus situation. So it's been fun to discover different cities. We used to live in New York and I was working there for a couple of weeks in November. And so like running around Times Square, nothing that we did when we lived there, but all of a sudden seeing it through little Wolfie's eyes. He's 3.5. So all of a sudden we're like at the M&M store being like, it's incredible. There was also a show called Gazillion Bubbles that we went to. Just like, doing these, I've always loved toys. Like truly, I've always just been this adult that like walks by a like window full of plush toys and has to like remind myself to just keep on walking because I'm a true grown adult. But now I've got an excuse to like go in and really just sort of discover these things with the excitement that my son brings to the experience. I think Max was saying when Mario and Monte were talking about, or actually you were just saying that like now life has purpose and there is this other layer to all of our experiences. But yeah, discovering new things, adventuring together, and then also just like laying and watching shows and snacking and making food together. And Wolfie is just super interested in bugs and plants and all of these things that I get to sort of reapproach with like a new kind of presence, which I think that's like seems like kind of in this phase of our lives where it's like we're these adults now. It's actually we're chasing the moment and like actually being in the moment, and there's nothing better than having your kid there to pull you into the moment.
I agree. Dan, what about you?
Well, I have 2 teenagers, so my favorite pastime is to avoid them as much as possible and to get away from them every chance I get. So that's my favorite pastime. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, that was serious, but thinking back to an earlier time, my kids, since from birth, both of them, I mean, they're both full biological siblings from the same birth mom and the same birth dad, whom we've never met, but they are water kids. I mean, they love the water from day one. And so going to the beaches, wherever on the East Coast or on the West Coast, watching them play on the beach for the first decade of their lives, both of them really, really close. Love watching them play in the ocean. I have to agree with Sabrina. There's something about especially in the first 10 years, watching them discover things for the first time, the first show, taking them to, my family's from Argentina, so taking them to Buenos Aires and encountering a new city with them, and Ireland, and just traveling with them. Now it's a lot harder when we do all wind up in the kitchen together, watching something together. Anytime we have that we're not on our devices or fighting about devices is my favorite time with my kids currently.
Thanks, Dan. Max, what about you?
I mean, I want to second kind of what Dan's talking about. I mean, the life becomes so difficult. I mean, things are difficult at the beginning that aren't difficult later in life, and then things become very easy that that once were hard. But I think that's I was always very honest with myself, and Eric was about that it was going to be hard and that it was going to change our lives. And having when you're gay, you kind of grow up, so you socialize yourself to take care of yourself, because you're born into a situation where you didn't necessarily get to do that. So the idea of having children is this very selfless thing for gay people, I believe, because they're running counter to what they did as they socialized and grew themselves into adults. I mean, I find gay parents to be very impressive because it's a big choice to make, and those that do it want it. And I feel like gay parents are great parents. But to answer the question, you know, at the beginning of life, it was a lot easier to travel with little people. You know, we're a New York, LA family. We certainly were for the beginning of their lives. So going back and forth was a lot easier. And that just brings me to a point that I think is an important one to share, which is that selfish part of being gay. Well, the way that we dealt with that with the children was, we're going to bring them into our life. We're going to have our life be their life, and it's not going to be the other way around. You know, I'm a queen that really cares about his house, you know, and it's like I didn't want my house to be covered in you know, in bubbles and finger paint and all of that kind of stuff. And so I just made them a part of the things that I love. And the things that I love are all of the domestic aspects of life and putting a beautiful home together, and the theater and restaurants, and sharing these things as early as we possibly could, and trying cool food and things that were outside of the norm, and not being afraid of their discomfort. You know, they'll get comfort on a chicken nugget in 2 seconds, but you know, you want to back away so fast when it's uncomfortable. And you know, I think it's really important to stick with the things that you love when you have children, and make it the things that they love. You know, we bring these kids with us and we say, get into it because we're into it, and they do. We don't, we're not afraid of them. And because we're not afraid of them, they've gotten on board with a lot of stuff that really works and makes our life very full. And I will say, I have dinner with my family. You know, it's rare that we don't eat together. And, you know, a lot can happen at that dinner table, and a lot of connecting can happen at that dinner table. And to Dan's point, and a lot of bullshit can happen too. Mine just turned 13, and it's not easy, and they don't want to be around us, and they want to be on their devices. But, you know, we've laid the groundwork. We laid the foundation of a connection. And you'd be surprised. They get it. If you started early, they get it. And so that's what we do.
I agree with you, Max. But one point is the whole bringing them into your world. We made a commitment that our world, or that we would not lose ourselves when we had children, which is so easy to do. You see it all the time.
That's such a cool part about being queer, is that even with the wedding, like, we see our straight friends go through these weird filters of trying to please everyone else for their moment that is representative of their love. But because usually, I mean, my parents weren't like, invite everybody. It was like, this is going to be our thing. This is going to be our party. And I feel like I see a lot of gay parents, like, the blue sky is just vaster, I think, with queer parents. It's the pressure of doing things this archetypal, baby. We don't have that. So we get to invent the rules. And I do think it's just, you know, to not to be cheesy, but it makes the colors brighter. It's like a brighter situation.
Not agree more. So Justine, back to our question, what is one thing that you like to do, your favorite thing that you like to do as a family?
You know, for me, it's the small things. The other night we sat down and, you know, did origami together, made like origami cats, dogs, elephants. You know, speaking to, you know, I really agree that there was a commitment of like not shrinking my world, and making sure she had, you know, would always have access to the world the life that I'm building and living. And of course, with, she's very opinionated and learning new things every day and learning her own interests. One of those things is art, something I'm terrible at. And, you can even get me to like color inside the lines in a coloring book. But I love the push and pull of that. Like I have this world, she could, she's interested in it, politics, all this stuff, public service, engagement with community and community building. I love just going on walks in my neighborhood and different neighborhoods and getting to know folks. To bring her along for that, but also on the things like origami that, maybe I thought about for a very long time, but never took the time to learn how to do well. But she talked about it a few times and I was like, okay, like I'm going to order a kit and we're going to like do some serious origami tonight after dinner. And she loved it. And it's, and also speaking to that point of like seeing the world through their eyes and being there with them, allowing them to pull us into that space of, oh, wow, all this stuff is awesome. The world is awesome. There's all these things that we could be doing that are big and small, but, when you are present, when I'm present with her and I get to just see how she experiences things and experiences joy and even frustration or anything and kind of be there and present in the moment, I think it's wonderful. And I think it happens in those like really small moments at the dinner table, doing some kind of, thing together or just going for a walk.
Great, thanks, Justine. And Mario Monte, what about you?
Oh man, there's a lot of stuff that was said that's kind of confirmation for us and stuff that we can put in our pocket. Once Mariela gets here, especially doing what you love, just continue doing that. Mm-hmm. We have a plethora of things that we kind of do just for both of us, as far as like going out, just driving around, looking at nice houses to give us. We have a pretty cool house now, but just like give us ideas and open our minds up to greater. He's a chef, so he loves cooking and we love tasting new things.
Yeah, food is definitely a big part of our lives. Yeah. It's fun. Like I said, I just do random stuff. A lot of people just like, hey, can you make this cool thing? So we always end up doing some type of like live video of me cooking and stuff like that. So
YouTube channel.
So we have fun doing that. And we also have fun like trying new places like mom and pop shops. So something that you can't get everywhere, and then telling our family about it. We're also big into our family. So usually when our family comes in town or we go visit them, we like to go to like little mom and pop shops together. We love traveling when we can, outside of our busy schedules. We love the water. So we love like beaches, oceans. I grew up around the ocean my entire life up until I joined the military. But so we love going to either go back home to visit family or going to see our best friend who was stationed in Hawaii for a while. So
I can't swim, but I love the water.
Which is very odd. He can swim underneath the water. He just can't swim above the water, which is, I don't know how.
That's me. That's me too. I thought I was the only one.
Thank you.
My wife thinks it's crazy. How can you swim underwater and not on top?
I don't understand, because for a long time, he didn't even know that he could swim underwater. And the only reason why he knew is because we used to go swimming all the time. And one day I was like, hey, let me teach you how to swim. Okay, just try. And then he started swimming under the water. I was like, wait a minute, you're swimming. And he was like, oh, I am? I was like, yeah. So he didn't even know that he knew how to swim. Yeah. And so I was like, see, you're swimming. Just because you can't swim above the water doesn't mean you can't swim at all. Like, so now he knows how to swim underneath the water, but he can't do it above the water. But anyways,
we do it for that baby.
Absolutely.
Above and below for that baby. That and right? And you too, Stacy. It's just for the baby you have to figure out.
I'm with you. My twins are taking swim lessons, and I'm in there with them because they're swimming stronger than me. But I agree with you.
Or you could just scuba certified. That saves the problem.
That too, yeah, yeah. That way you don't really have to do as much with that part of it. But yeah. So pretty much that's what we like to do.
We have a really tight knit family, friends type of thing. So we have, I guess, depending on where we get stationed and whatnot, we always have that close group.
Yeah.
Either they'll fly out here, or people that are here will we'll always have like a thing on the weekend or so.
Yeah.
And just play games, just have a really good time. I love fires, so doing that as well. So there's a lot of stuff that keeps us going. And again, when Marilla gets here, we'll start to add her in that equation, and then be open to the origami or doing all that type of stuff as well, if whatever she gets into.
You know, Stacey, it's really interesting, listening to this, because the nature nurture thing really comes into play, especially with adopted kids, because you do really introduce your kids to the world that you know as an adult. But very soon we became aware of how unbelievably different our kids just on a cellular level were to us. And slowly but surely, I mean, like, we're two gay boys and we've got a 6'1", 14-year-old military obsessed son who, wasn't going to go to the Broadway shows and listen to Julie Andrews records like we were doing on the weekends. And I was then forced to learn how to play basketball and learn how to play baseball and buy a paintball gun and go to a paintball gun place. And, my son, I should talk to Mario and you guys, because my son talks about the military 24/7, but it's really interesting because what happens is you bring what you love to do to them, but slowly but surely, whether you like it or not, they will bring you to what they just inherently love and can't stop thinking about, or so you hope. So that's so I have a feeling that my kid's going to be shipping off somewhere in the next 4 years.
I mean, by the way, he had it right. No one should be listening to Julie Andrews on the weekend. No one.
I agree.
The craziest theater fad musical queen.
It's my husband.
Queen.
I don't do it.
Not listen to that.
It's my husband.
That is a bridge too far.
It's too far. I know.
No,
and by the way, I would argue that my son's obsession with the military is a direct reaction to his papa listening to Julie Andrews. There you go. You heard it here.
Heard it here first. I agree with you, Dan. And with us being in Texas, I didn't want my boys to even be in football. And now I have one who we have not exposed him to football, but he will not stay away from it. So now I've had to embrace that, take him to football games, learn more about it, because come hell or high water, he's going to play football. That's what he's decided, no matter what.
How old is he right now?
7.
Oh. Where did he figure it out? How did he?
Maybe a conversation with his grandpa. I don't know, but he's obsessed now. And so now my wife and I are having to play tackle football and to take him to football games. And as much as we don't want to, and we're like, we really don't want you to do Texas football, he's all in. And so I've decided to sort of just let go. You're saying, Dan, let go.
My parents were trying to hold on to like the shrivels of femininity that were in me when I was a preteen. And my brother started playing hockey and I did everything my brother did, but they ended up signing my brother up for tennis, being like, Sabrina, we don't want you to play tennis. We do not want you to play tennis. And then I started playing tennis and fell in love with tennis, which obviously was not a smart move for them when they were trying to make me not gay. It was like, well, that's easily also just a gateway.
Stacey, the interesting thing is, like, God willing, he will have a healthy, successful run in his football experience. But there is something incredible about you and your wife being at games on Friday nights in Texas and representing what you represent, and making change that way as well. That's big stuff. I think that's very important. You represent, everybody in a gay family represents something to someone. I
would like to add one thing. So if you don't, I'm a clinical mental health student at UNO. So I'm earning my master's in clinical mental health. And one of the things that I learned is, as much as we as parents or as, people who have an influence on other people's lives, as we say, like, well, I don't know how this person ever got into, sports, or ever got into ballet or singing or dancing, whatever. We often get confused because we don't understand that there are certain things that are genetically passed down that you have no control over. It's the same thing as like stressors and trauma. There's things that are passed down that you have no control over, no matter how much you try to tie them down to a strap metal jacket or whatever. it's genetics play a huge role in how we are, what we are, our personalities. And so hopefully that answers some of the questions when they get down to like, I don't understand. They've never seen, this a day in their lives. How are they into this? There are things that are genetically passed down that we just can't understand. And genetics is a newer thing that we're doing in mental health, where we're learning about how important genetics are over, it's kind of that nature versus nurture type thing. Like there are certain things, you can nurture a person all day long, but you can't go against the natural genetics of a person. And so, that's why I think it's really hard, especially with gay families or gay people, that grew up in like straight families. We try to say, well, I'm going to teach you this religion and teach you this and say you can't be this. And no matter what, we come through it, whether we're stressed about doing it, whether we, go through a lot of pain and suffering, we're going to eventually break out of it and come out to the world because it is just genetically enhanced within us. So no matter what the parents have taught.
Funyuns. I never had a Funyun in my house my entire life, except the birth mom did. And my kids are obsessed with Funyuns. I don't even know what a Funyun is, but my kids are obsessed with them. And it's gotta be genetic. It's gotta be, because what? Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right. It's science, my friends. Nurture is taking a back seat.
Yeah. So I think what they're saying is that Dan needs to get used to Funyuns. Yep. And I need to learn how to throw a football. So we got our orders, right? So let's move into becoming a parent. I think as queer folks, and especially I think even people of color, we know how important representation is, right? So as you all chose to navigate your path to becoming parents, did you have mentors? Did you have role models? And did you have community support? Maybe let's start with Sabrina with this question.
We're just starting to sort of notice other gay families, and it's funny because like I had a joke when we first became parents that people would look at us like two girls with a baby, like we were two pigeons wearing a hat. Like, who are those two pigeons and who gave them that cool hat? But the joke is truly actually like I'm looking at these pigeons with a hat too, because it's new. It's all very new. Sitting here in this panel and hearing about so many things in everyone's experience ringing true for us. It is still this new, fresh thing. And I guess the person who told me, my friend Boyanna, is the one who told me the recipe that like sperm could go into a uterus and make a baby. I mean, like in a gay way, where I think we all sort of have shared this idea of like, as soon as you come out, part of the tragedy or the feeling is like, well, this is going to be impossible or like too hard to make my family dreams come true. And then just like the refreshing sort of, oh, wow, no, it's even better. But yeah, my friend Boyanna was the role model in terms of the conception recipe, where she switched her Tinder from girls to boys, and we're like, girl, you're gay. What are you doing? She's like, don't inquire. Okay, I'm up to something. And she met a bunch of guys and then picked one to be a donor, and did the way we made Wolfie was based on the way she made her son Remy, which was inseminating at home, a la Mosey Baby, but just using a syringe. So that's definitely a role model. And then I really like the way my parents raised me. I immediately started going to therapy after Wolfie was born to start asking the questions of like, okay, what are the parts that I really loved and what are the parts that I myself should focus on letting go of? Is that kind of the answer a bit? The question was role models.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to pass.
I want to
hear about the new role models I have. What do you guys got? Who do you guys have?
I think an interesting perspective, actually everyone's, but Mario and Monte, with you being in Nebraska, queer folks of color, Black men.
Oh my gosh.
Really interested in how that, what is, role models and community support look like for y'all?
Yeah, I guess I'll start off. Obviously Nebraska has a huge, diversity issue, but also me just being in the military. I actually had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with some of the guys in the band, and I was like, man, me going through what I'm going through now, I have yet to see an officer or hire an enlisted African American a gay guy that has a kid or that has been through the church trauma that I've been through. And I have yet to see that. So I'm like, who am I searching to go for answers, or, hey, what do I do if this happens? Like, there isn't that. It's always kind of just being completely blunt. It's, you know, the white family with the dog, a nice picket fence with two kids, and that's how it's always staged. All the advertisement, all the of military, and that's all that's all I've been saturated when I've joined the military was that. And so going to the process that we are, as I stated, I'm like, there is no one here that's me. So what the hell am I doing? Type of deal.
Yeah, and then like for me, so I'm really known for one of my quotes that I always say. Sometimes you have to be the reference point you want to see. And so like for Mario and I, like neither of us on either side of our family have a Black gay family that is going through surrogacy or even went through adoption. Like, we're the first of our kind in our entire community. And so a lot of people, you know, we're kind of like the beacon, if you want to call it that. So people ask us like, oh, how is it? And how has it been? And, you know, how did you go through it? And how does it work? Whose sperm did you use? How did you find your surrogate? Like,
Are they Black or white?
Are they Black? Are they white? And, you know, and by the way, our daughter, racial because our surrogate is white. So you add on a whole nother level with, you know, first there are already two male parents, and then we have a biracial
Your
parent.
surrogate is white, or your donor is white?
Our surrogate is our donor.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, and so we've had all types of questions like, you know, whose sperm did you use? Did she use her own egg? Did, you know, like which one of you are going to be the father? What are you going to call yourselves? Like, so, and we're like, it has been kind of hard because we don't know, like, who can we go and call out to ask for help? Like, I mean, sure, we do see a lot of, more recently, we are seeing more same-sex couples, but the ones we see, they're mostly white, you know, and, you know, nothing against, you know, like the white community, but we don't see it for ourselves. So it's like, you know, we already have another layer of difficulty with us because, you know, we're going to be walking around with this, you know, mixed baby, you know, I'm sure she's going to be probably more brighter skin with curly hair, who knows? And so, you know, we kind of have to, we're setting the reference point because, again, we don't have anyone that we can just say, how did you go through this being a Black male gay couple raising a mixed baby, you know? And so, so we stand by the statement that, you know, sometimes you have to be the reference point you want to see. And at this point, we are the reference point for those who are coming behind us. And so ever since the Ellen show, we've had like many people contact us and say, well, how did you do it? And how did you get here? And so now we're, you know, being able to like help those that are coming behind us. And, you know, they don't have to necessarily, I mean, everyone's going to still struggle in their own way, but they don't have to necessarily struggle as much in certain areas because now they can come and ask us how we did it. And that's what's happening now.
Not gonna lie, it's rough. It really is, especially dealing, you know, with mental health and all that. It's like, man, what am I doing? Like, it's like you kind of want to give up a lot just because you don't have.
What is rough? What specifically are you referring to when you're saying it's rough? What are you referring to exactly?
For me, I mean, for me personally, like, obviously, the trauma that I've been through dealing with church, it sticks. And, you know, as my therapist is like, hey, you've gone through almost 20 something years dealing with that. So you have to, you're rewiring, you're constantly rewiring. And so when there's something new that comes and there is nothing for you to see what it's supposed to be like, or there's a finished product of it, it's like, you're almost kind of like, what am I doing? Like, am I doing this right? Like all of that, especially being the African-American community, because you better not be African-American and then you've been in the church and you grew up in the church and, you know, and especially if you come in a family that's like that, my grandfather was a pastor, you know, all that. So those are times where it does get rough when you kind of feel like you're floating because you don't know what you're doing. And I guess that happens with just parenthood in general.
Yeah, but you know what? You guys bring up I mean, the thing is, I always think it's about concentric circles, right? And where you fall is somewhere in the middle of a bunch of other circles. I'm blown away because you guys have about 1 million. I mean, you have the church as a circle and the military as a circle and the Black community as a circle and the parenting community as a circle. And you will I always find this interesting, is that you have to sort of honor the uniqueness of your experience and your ancestry and your history. And
Yep.
at the same time, this is a huge opportunity. I found the same thing when we were having our kids. It's a huge opportunity where suddenly you have this reference point, this communal reference point with let's say all parents, or let's say Black families. Sure, there's more traditional Black families where there's a mom and there's a dad, or a single mom or a single dad. But suddenly the experience of change, listen, the truth is, you're changing a diaper. That baby does not know whether you're straight or you're gay, or a diaper is a diaper, and the person changing it either looks, maybe wears some cuter clothes than someone else, but the baby doesn't care. And at the end of the day, the experience of being that parent is something that will bond you with every other parent across the globe, hopefully. And then you've got all these other little reference points where you can sort of connect with your fellow military, maybe. But the little place in the center where you're just you guys is going to be a place where other Black, gay, middle of the country guys who want to be parents are going to be like, oh my God, we're not completely alone. And it's this weird balancing act where you have to like embrace. I loved what you said about being your own reference point, but also it's a huge opportunity. I bonded with more mothers when I became a father than I ever thought possible. And it just suddenly became like an even playing field. And I actually thought that,
it's like the currency of babies. No, just to hop on what you're saying, it translates completely. And there's something, when I got married to Shauna and I told my Muslim extended family, who were the first people to feed me and hold me, these people I grew up with, they broke up with me. They acted like I was dead. They wrote emails as if I was in the past. The baby comes around. Baby is Bitcoin, baby. It's like, whether you're gay or you're Black or you're Muslim, people are like, let me see a picture of that baby. It really, there's something undeniably so beautiful about this new, fresh life that I think inspires a lot of people to melt down those walls. And for sure, my family, it was a shock reaction. They acted very dramatically and were already sort of in the connections that mattered starting to come around, but the baby really sealed the deal. So I'm sure you'll also be surprised by how many people within all those circles are going to be crossing the edge of the circle to come.
Sabrina, I'm so glad you said that. When I was on Scandal, I played a character who's not only gay and married to a psycho, but I was the adoptive father of a Black baby girl. And I have to tell you, I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and said that while them and their spouse may not have necessarily endorsed the lifestyle that I was living as that character on that show, something about me being the father of that baby bonded me with a community that I don't think, and it's true, it's like the baby was a unifier, just even on TV, which is why, it's so important to represent, whether you write about it or whether you talk about it at church or whether you talk about it on TV. It's like, these are the reference points that put forth the positive change that we can be a part of just by example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you, Sabrina. The babies do melt down those walls, and bring grandparents in, aunts, uncles, all those people who were not so happy initially. I've noticed.
And then any wall that doesn't melt down, it's like a great, oof, thankfully.
Absolutely, exactly. But I'm so surprised how
stay over there.
The babies changed everything, relationships, everything. So it's absolutely true. Justine, let's hear from you. What about representation? When you were on your path to parenthood, what sort of role models did you have of any, and community support?
I mean, I didn't really have any in terms of, Cece was born while I was still in the closet in terms of my gender identity. I was already out as bi and living out and engaged and built a community. I was still really very much afraid. This was before the tipping point. And that trans representation has taken such leaps and bounds in the last 5+ years. So it was just before that, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Am I just going to be Justin? And maybe in 20 years I'll start transitioning. When she's old enough, and had that conversation. But what I learned very quickly was that when she was turned 1, I was like, I can't have these separate, completely bubbles of lives. and professional achievement and movement in my life, I couldn't imagine it anymore as I was. And that extended to parenthood, where I was like, okay, so I don't want to be looking back. I don't want 20 years to go by and we go like, oh, Cece, I was hiding this from you. I've known this since you were before you were born, didn't share it. I envisioned a future where, as things were changing, that she would feel comfortable and strong enough and confident enough in talking to me in terms of any of this stuff. And I didn't think I could embody that effectively if I wasn't living my truth. So at the time when she was born, and I think becoming a parent is a lengthy process, I think is what we're all sharing, of like change and time. But there was definitely, in the beginning, I absolutely didn't know any transgender people who were parents. So I couldn't envision that at all. I was like, what would those questions that, were being posed of like, what is she going to call you if you start transitioning? What's that going to look like? How would she interact with it? So in the early, I decided when she was 1 that I would start the transition, and, with the pressure of believing that I would go from point A to point B. Like I was like, girl, like the first like 3-4 years, I was like super hyper feminine. I had like it was a sprint to the finish line. But I also learned really quickly that that wasn't my path either. And I was like, okay, like, oh, damn. I thought I had this figured out and I would do this. And, she'd call me whatever she wants. She always has that option, but she's called me mama since she could speak. And sometimes mama's femmed out and all done up and in a dress. And sometimes I just wake up in the morning and get ready for a Zoom, panel, and I'm not going to do any of that. So I didn't have that. I definitely like a roadmap of it, an example. Only until like I started to meet trans people in LA and really engage and go like, okay, like I'm building community, coming out. Did I even build supports just of what would my life look like as me, in the future, as I figure out who I am again and go through this process, let alone as a parent doing it. And but it's been such a beautiful process. So the becoming of it, of going from like I have no idea to little, I even have like just remembering like little instances of like a Lyft ride with me and my daughter, and going like, and the Lyft driver turning around and going like, I'm so proud of what you do. Like you somehow are like a mom and dad at the same time, and that must be awesome. And now that she's 8 and we do play dates and parties, sometimes the kids come up to me like just not like, I can't tell, are you a mom or a dad? And it's okay to say both or like whatever. And but it's been such a wonderful journey in that part. But it's been to that that wording was great, of like our own reference point, and getting to that point of going to leadership things and having younger queer leaders come to me and go like, oh God, like I want to have a family, and go like, I see like some possibility of me building a family when you come to these things with your daughter, when you integrate your daughter into your life. And those moments are really powerful too, although it starts to age me a little bit. I'm like, I remember when I used to be an intern. Like now I have the interns coming to me telling me like you're like some example of something. But it's beautiful and wonderful through all of it.
Thanks for that, Justine.
One thing I wanted to touch with Stacey was because it was really difficult for us with his family, more so. My family is very accepting. His family is more of the religious side, so it was a little bit harder. And the minute that they found out we're having a baby is when I feel like things started to come closer. And I was really surprised that, like, I'm not saying that his mother has not been supportive of us, but like it was been more of a difficult time for them. And when she found out she was having another grandbaby, it just like changed how she even like communicates with us. And so that's why I wanted to say that you mentioned that earlier, and that's exactly what's happening to us. So it's like our baby girls bring a lot more things together. Like it just feels more natural now that, we have this extra support with family, on top of, dealing with the stressors of the world, of who we are as, a Black male gay couple raising a kid in the middle of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to keep, I think, at least my experience, it keeps, once the baby is here, that relationship keeps progressing. And again, it's just like that. It's all about that kid being here and just those walls melting down, as Sabrina was saying.
But I also think it's kind of important that the families build bridges to you. I don't think you have to build bridges to them.
Right.
And it's like, we're having children. This was definitely my husband's experience coming out when his parents, hit a bump in the road, and his attitude was, you figure this out, and when you get there, I'll be here. But there's no part of me that's going to accept your discomfort or your being behind the 8 ball on the way I'm living my life. And I also just want to add, I think that I believe in Monte's version of how you do things, and sometimes it's Monte who you're your own reference point. Yeah. And I think confidence and self-confidence when you are a gay parent is a blessing that you need to lean into. Self-love and trusting how you roll, and not second guessing yourself, because many people all through time have not had any examples, and why should we be afforded any examples either? We know what we know because it's in our gut. We have the baby, and then you just know, keep it dry when it's wet, keep it wet when it's dry. And that's really all you need to know. And then they grow from there.
Yeah, but it adds a lot of pressure. I think the people look at you like, oh, you're going to have a baby. Like, you better be perfect. You better be perfect parents because you're different. So show us that you do it perfectly. And then and guess what? No one is. You're allowed to make a million mistakes. You will. Oh my God, I make them every single day. And there was a period of time, even when I was writing my book, where I felt like, well, what am I doing? Like, I'm no expert. I only know what I know in the moment, and what I feel in my gut is the right thing. And then later I might learn that I was wrong. But I would say to, you guys are to be new parents. It's like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You don't have to be an example. You are already an example. You don't have to try to strive for something that's impossible.
Fuck anybody that gives you attitude. Fuck anybody. I mean, the very early on when we had the girls, I had a moment at JFK I went absolutely batshit on somebody at JFK at that airport for suggesting that there was anything odd about this tableau. And of course, those are my daughters, and what would suggest that this was that terrible concept that this is what we have to be careful, sir. This could be an abduction. It's just like look at the obvious, and don't take shit from anybody.
I agree with you. Well, I'll let you go, and then we're gonna go.
Okay, sorry. No, just kind of going on to that. One of the many things that has happened at the church was one of those instances where we would, I was in charge of the youth choir. We had 7 different choirs, but we were both mentors towards kids, even though people didn't know about us. When it did finally come out, we were still doing the church thing. I'm mentoring one kid, and just we're having a good time. We played Madden and stuff like that. And then it came back that, I don't know if you were, just molesting my kid and stuff like that.
Nice.
And it was like just a breaking point. I'm like, you know what? This is just ridiculous. We're trying to be good people to the youth and set an example, like all that type of stuff. Sexuality has nothing to do with anything, but the fact that I'm in a trusted position, what I'm doing, what I'm capable of, but you want to sit there and say that I'm doing these things to you? Come on.
I want to stay close to the time that we told y'all we would take. And so we are close to an hour, maybe right at an hour. So we're going to do one final question, and then I'll close it up. So that final question is, what would you tell your pre-parenthood you? And maybe Justine, you can kick us off with this. What would you say to the pre-parenthood you?
That you don't have to have this shit figured out yet. That there's a lot that you will learn, that there's a lot of change that will happen, and that just leading with love and attention is really the foundation of all of it. For children, for Cece before she was born, and for yourself, really simple as that.
Stacey, can I go second because and you're editing this and I have to go to a meeting?
Yes, please.
I think that I would tell myself the thing that I have done, which is I leaned on consistency, and I was consistent in being present. And that doesn't mean that it always went well. That doesn't mean that we had great nights where people slept perfectly or fights didn't take place. But we were always there. And that is the thing that I think has allowed me to raise fearless daughters. They actually knew that they were in a safe space. It wasn't just an expression. Consistency got me there.
Thank you,
I
Max.
love all of you, and I'm going, and I can't wait to meet you at the next gay live thing that we go rubber chicken it at. Stacey, nice meeting you.
Again, thanks, Max.
Bye, you all.
Dan, let's go to you next. What would you tell your pre-parenthood self?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Eventually they grow out of the Bjorns, which was my favorite thing on the planet, and they become teenagers.
Dan, I can have you a giant Bjorn made if that's the big.
Oh my God, I would love it because my daughter's 14 and I just put it down last week and her legs were dragging along the floor. It was so embarrassing. It's a really good question. It's a really good question because you really cannot possibly listen. This is what happens. Every single parent that you will meet or that you already are meeting, with those of you with little kids, will always say the same thing, which is like, oh my God, enjoy it. Enjoy every moment because it goes so fast. It goes so fast. Like just be in the moment with them because it goes so fast. And you're like, yeah. Like I need a wipe. Like all I know is at the time that I was a dad, there were no changing tables in men's rooms anywhere. I was like, what is the deal? Like I have to change my daughter on the floor of the men's room. And we all know that the men's rooms across America, I don't care what city they're in, are disgusting. So now, of course, there are changing, although I don't know if in the middle of the country, but certainly in certain cities around this country, there are changing tables. Carry wipes. I would tell my pre-parenthood self, I'd say just carry wipes, period. You'll need them for you more than you need them for your kids. But more than anything, I really honestly wish that I had told that my pre-parenthood self would have been more accepting of the mistakes, of the questions, of the fears. You feel like you have to have all your shit together so that when you get with another parent, you have to stand behind the decisions you've made as if they're absolutely right. And every parent I know is like that. They're like, well, this is what we did, therefore it's the right way to do it. The truth is, you don't know. You're figuring it out. So are they. And I wish I had known before we even had kids that I was enough just being willing to love unconditionally and to look my kids in the eyes every day with wonder and amazement. That's all they're looking for.
Thank you, Dennis. So true. And be flexible, right? There's so many things I said that I was going to do before the kids even got here. And then they get here and I'm like, well, but no, that's not the way this is supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. And so you absolutely be flexible. What about you, Sabrina?
I would tell my pre-parenthood self, it's going to be fucking amazing. It's going to be incredible. Everybody tells you that, but it really is just this beautiful, beautiful ride. And Justine, when you were speaking, I was just thinking about, the moment when you were talking to Cece and telling her that you were transitioning or that, at 1 year old. What an amazing gift for Cece to see the strength of their parent and the transformation of their parent and the confidence behind that to have her along for the ride. So many people decide to wait on things for some sort of imagined normalcy for their kid. And the kids actually have the magic recipe, which is, this is it. Whatever is happening is it. And that's something that I never imagined before having Wolfie, that it would just be so beautiful and healing to see his perspective of moments when we do encounter homophobia, or just people, as Max was saying, that aren't familiar with the tableau, that to him, his framework is like, that's kind of funny. That's so funny. That's funny that they think that it's strange that you guys are my parents. It's weird that they don't have a mama and a baba. Well, okay, on to the next thing, where it triggers trauma for us and we're reeling and we're figuring out what we should have said better. And for him, he's on to the next thing. And I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful gift that we as gay parents get to give to our kids and also to ourselves.
Absolutely. Maybe Mario, Monte, anything to add to this in the stage of where you are today?
Yeah, sorry if I keep going. I think one thing I will say this first is that it is interesting, you know, when people know that we're having a baby, first thing they do is just lash out all their stuff that, oh, you make sure you do this, do that, do that. And we're sort of learning is like, all right, that's your kid. For me, I mean, as everyone's talking, especially with this question, my little saying for myself is just do what you do, don't do what you don't do. And I learned that in high school and basketball. But I'm starting to kind of relate that to this because, I mean, I know the type of person I am. I can be a little crazy sometimes, so sorry. But I will kind of just do what I do. And then if things got to change, and I'll go with that. But I'm certainly not going to do things that I would never do, or just do things that just because someone else has said them, that comes out of my character, you know, if that makes sense. So for me, that's what I would.
Yeah, and like, obviously we're still going through the new parenthood journey. You know, you have to do what's best for you and your kid, because no two kids are the same, even if they're twins. You know, every kid is different, as many of you all know, you know, that has twins. You know, they can have two different personalities, two different reactions. So what we're doing currently as preparing for parents is just trying to do what we think is best. And the only way we're going to learn if it's not best is if we do it and it doesn't work, you know. And so we're going to just try to be the best parents we can be. We know we're going to not be perfect and, you know, fail at this and fail at that, but we're going to just keep going as best as we can. And also, we're enjoying every moment of this. Like, you know, yesterday we just took our maternity pictures with our surrogate, and so we're enjoying everything about this journey. We're embracing it. We're taking our time with it because we know things are going to change when the baby's born. But like, we are enjoying every minute of everything that's happening. You know, preparing for a baby shower, all of this stuff. We're embracing it, and we get to write our own script, and we get to do how we want it to be done. And so we're super excited about that. So that's what I would tell my current self and those who are also going through the same situation like us.
I love that. And I think it's a great way to close. But the one theme that I heard from all of y'all was enjoy every moment. And I think sometimes as parents, we get in the busyness of being parents and you forget about enjoying that moment. I heard you talk about joy a lot, Sabrina. So I think that's a huge lesson here, to enjoy every moment. And we're all trying to figure it out. No one has the right answer at all. We're all trying to figure it out. So love that. We have run out of time. And so I want to thank all of you all again for joining me. In our work at Family Equality, we see the impact that comes from discussions like this. Sharing your story and creating open, safe spaces to come together as a community can all make a difference. And thank you to those watching at home. If you saw yourself in any of our conversation, or if you have questions, you can learn more by following us on social media or contacting us at familyequality.org. For more than 40 years, we've been working to ensure that everyone has the freedom to find, form, and sustain their families by advancing equality for the LGBTQ+ community. And we are so grateful to have these amazing people and all of you at home for this journey. And of course, we cannot do this work without you. So if you click the link in the description of this video, you will be directed to donate to our organization. So please consider giving today. As we heard from all of our speakers, there is still so much work to do to be done to protect and sustain our families. And any amount from $5 to $500 or more will help us get closer to achieving our mission. Thank you for watching.